And Donald Trump maybe should sell one of his golf courses or maybe sell his apartment at Trump Tower to fund it. But instead, he's taking people who donate an average of $100 to him to try to get him to become president of the United States again. And he's using that money to pay his legal fees. It's unethical. It's immoral. And it's just another part of the grift that's been going on in Washington, D.C. for much, much too long.
Good morning. Welcome back into Wake Up America. So the last Republican governor from a blue state to beat an incumbent Democratic president was Ronald Reagan back in 1980. Our next guest, he beat Jimmy Carter, of course, is trying to do just that to Joe Biden. Our next guest, former New Jersey Governor Christie with us on set. Governor, good morning. Great to have you in.
I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Good to see you. Our pleasure. So you famously passed on a run in 2012. Mitt Romney was a weak candidate. You endorsed Mitt Romney, campaigned for him. You said at the time that you weren't ready. Do you regret that decision now?
I don't because I wasn't ready. And look, that may be kind of a quaint idea after some of the things we've seen over the last decade or so since I made that decision.
Right.
But I really believe that if you're going to ask people for their vote, that in your heart you have to believe you're absolutely ready. I had been governor for about 15 months when I made that decision. I'd been a prosecutor before that. I felt like I needed a lot more experience to be able to do the job the right way. And now I feel completely ready.
Did you think Obama was ready in 2008?
I didn't think he was ready in 2008.
And you could have beat him in 2012.
Well, look, I guess anything's possible. No one ever knows what's going to happen in a race like that against an incumbent president. But the reason I didn't run was because I didn't feel it in my heart. And I feel like if you don't, then you have no business asking people for their vote.
You did throw your hat into the ring in 2016. Donald Trump was a candidate, too, in 2016. He beat you. Here's what you had to say on Firing Line last month about what you and ultimately everybody else did wrong in 2016. Take a listen.
We all became convinced, and by all I mean folks like me and Jeb Bush and John Kasich and Marco Rubio, that there was an establishment lane that we had to compete in first and become the winner of that lane, and like the NCAA tournament, move on to face the winner of Trump, Cruz, Fiorina, and Carson. It was a completely faulty way of looking at it. We were wrong. I was wrong, and everybody else who did that was wrong. There's one lane, Margaret, and the lane has Donald Trump at the head of it. And if you want to win it, you got to go directly through that lane and go through him. Only by taking him on and disqualifying him will there be the voters that really want to believe in you and push you forward.
All right, so you didn't go after Trump enough in 2016. Now you're attacking him almost exclusively. So far, the results, they haven't been there. The Wall Street Journal had a poll out this weekend. You're at a minus 55 net favorability among Republicans. That's the lowest of all the candidates right now. These are the people that are watching us right now on Newsmax.
Yeah.
These are people that you need to like you. How do you change that?
Well, look, I was not at least a bit surprised to see those numbers because you're going after the guy who was president of the United States. But the fact is, when folks really start to focus on this, that they're going to understand that he can't beat Joe Biden. He is going to be sitting in a courtroom for all of March and most of April on criminal charges. He's out on bail in 4 different jurisdictions. I mean, think about that. As a former prosecutor, that we have the front runner for our nomination out on bail in 4 different jurisdictions. And let's face it, whether you agree with the charges or you don't, they are a reality we now have to deal with. And let's look at the conduct. His conduct on January 6th was reprehensible. His lying about the election being stolen.
Many disagree with that assessment.
Well, I don't know how you can. You stand
peacefully and patriotically is how you can. That's what he said that day.
Let me tell you something. That's not what he did.
That's what he said.
No, well, it's not what he did.
But
he then told them to march up to the Capitol. He knew that there were people in that
peacefully
audience
and
with
patriotically,
weapons.
though.
No, look,
right?
No. That's not all he said.
Right.
You can focus on those 3 words.
That's a quote. You're paraphrasing. I'm paraphrasing as well. But there are arguments on both sides, right?
Well, no, there's not arguments on both sides because when you incite people, as he did that day, and you see what the result is, he had another chance. He had another chance when he saw, even if he didn't intend for them to be violent, he saw them become violent, and he sat by and did nothing for 3 hours. Watched it on television from the White House. It did nothing to get people to stop it. In my view, that's beneath the conduct of someone who's been honored to have the presidency.
Okay, are you surprised then? You've been in politics for a long time, Governor. Are you surprised that we're now in September and nobody's figured out the formula, yourself included, and every other candidate, and I'm just going off the polling and where we are right now. People don't start voting until January, but nobody's been able to take out Donald Trump yet. Does that surprise you?
No. Why would it? People haven't really focused on this race yet. I mean, let's face it. People are in summer vacation. We're just ending that this weekend. We're going to start to focus on this stuff. Now, by the way, national polls, as someone who has done this for a long time, are useless because we don't have a national primary. If we had a national primary, they might matter. But I'm at
Let me ask you a question about that.
I'm at 14% in New Hampshire.
Okay. Does Governor
poll.
Sununu endorse you in New Hampshire?
I hope so.
When is he going to do that?
He says he's going to endorse later in the fall, and he'll make a decision.
And it's between you and DeSantis?
Well, I don't know if that's the case or not. I think that Chris and I see the world in very similar ways.
Right.
So I'm hoping to get his endorsement. But when you see what's happening here in New Hampshire and in Iowa, these races are much closer than any national poll. And by the way, I want to remind, because you talked about our viewers, our supporters, I endorsed Donald Trump in 2016. I chaired his transition. I worked for him. I chaired his opioid commission. I'm not somebody who was a never Trumper, but I want to beat Joe Biden.
You're not a never Trumper?
I was not a never Trumper. Absolutely not.
If he went with all your recommendations during the transition, do you think Trump wins a second term?
Well, I think it was more than that.
Because you had numerous recommendations that would have been in all different areas in the federal government.
I did, and he threw them all away.
And he let you go from that. But that would have made a difference.
Oh, I think it certainly would have made a difference in the beginning of his presidency. And, you know, the fact is this, that when you look at what we need to do here, we can't afford to lose to Joe Biden again. We simply can't.
Yeah.
Because what he's doing to the country is just irreparable if we give him another 4 years.
We're going to have you back on the other side and talk about that.
Sure.
Just a quick one, about 15 seconds, but you spent the past several years sitting next to George Stephanopoulos, who used to work for Bill Clinton over on ABC. Politico says that you're gaining a lot of support to be president, but the support is from the wrong group. It's from Democrats. How much is that hurting you right now?
I don't think it hurts me at all to be able to look at Republican voters in the eye and say, I can win a general election. Because when I got reelected in New Jersey, in one of the bluest states in the country, with 61% of the vote, I won 70% of independents, and I won 25% of Democrats. If we want to win the White House back, we got to put together that kind of coalition again. The coalition, like you said off the top, that Ronald Reagan put together to win 44 states the first time and 49 states the second time.
All right, former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie with us. You're going to stick with us. We'll see you on the other side of a quick break. Stay with us here on Wake Up America. We'll be right back. All right, good morning. Welcome back into Wake Up America. We are rejoined now by former New Jersey Governor and 2024 presidential candidate Chris Christie. Governor, thanks for sticking around and being with us on your birthday.
Yes.
Oh, happy birthday.
Thank you very much.
September 6th, a big day in the Christie household.
Well, we hope so.
Yes.
We'll see.
Happy birthday to you.
Thank you.
I want to talk about the second debate. So we are 3 weeks to the day away from debate number 2, which is going to be hugely important for you and every candidate. Sure. How do you entice Donald Trump to get on the stage for debate number 2? Because this is the face-off that everybody wants to see. And it was a letdown in debate 1. Because you and Trump weren't able to talk about where you differ on issues, to put it delicately.
Yes. Well, look, I don't think he'll be there for debate number 2. He has a beef with the Reagan Library. Apparently, they've never invited him to speak there or whatever. So, you know, Donald gets angry about those things. So I don't think he'll be there. I think the most likely time will be debate number 3 in October, which is at the University of Alabama in Tuscaloosa. I think we might see him there. But I don't think we'll see him 3 weeks from today.
Interesting.
Would you want to see him there?
Oh, yeah, sure.
You do?
You bet. Come on. Absolutely. Look, because he's the front runner.
Yeah.
And he and I have known each other for 22 years. So I think we'd have a lot of interesting conversations up on the stage.
I think you would.
I want to talk about Joe Biden. We spent so much time talking about the former president in the race. Don't forget, if you do win the nomination, it's Joe Biden who's going to be on the other side of the ticket. Exactly. He had a moment, and I bring this up because if you watch maybe CNN, maybe MSNBC, they're not going to point this out. It's just so bizarre. So yesterday, Captain Larry Taylor, 81 years old, he was awarded the Medal of Honor. He saved 4 lives during a mission in 1968 in the Vietnam War. Joe Biden had a difficult time pinning the medal on Captain Taylor. And then just before the benediction, Joe Biden walked off stage absent-mindedly. The Secret Service didn't know what he was doing. The media didn't know what he was doing. Take a look. Governor, it was taboo not that long ago to talk about the president's age and cognitive decline. Are you comfortable talking about what you're seeing?
Absolutely. Because if you don't talk about it, you're ignoring something as obvious as that. Look, he's not up to the job. He's too old. And it's that simple. Father Time catches up with everybody. It catches up with us at different times and at different ages. But there's no doubt when you look at the way Joe Biden walks, the way he speaks, the way he interacts with people, this is a guy who has reached his sell-by date. It's time to go. And I really think that his family should look at him and say, you know what? You've provided great service to the country over 50 years of a career in public service, but it's time to go home to Wilmington.
Yeah.
And they're not doing that.
And I just, my dad's a Marine. My uncle is an Army veteran. And I think about, to not only, it's such an honor to win this award, but to think about what this gentleman did. He saved his team members, essentially. And for the president to just leave, I mean, he pinned it on and then he just walked away. And the last two Medal of Honor ceremonies, he stayed for that. So whether that's decline or disrespect, let's talk about the families, the Gold Star families from Afghanistan.
Sure.
When he checked his watch. What does this say to military members, just to the American people?
Well, it says the same thing to military members that it should say to all the American people, that he's not up to the job. I mean, and what happens then is you have the most crazy liberal members of his staff essentially running the government. And when you look at the policies, the runaway spending, 17% inflation now, the horrible withdrawal from Afghanistan, when you look at the way he's weakened our military in general, these are all things that are going to take a long time to repair. And if you're a young couple right now trying to buy a home with interest rates over 7%, inflation is killing the young people in our country. And we need to have young people, again, who are filled with hope. They work hard, they get a job, they can buy a home. Mm-hmm. They can take care of themselves and have a better life and have a family.
Did you support impeachment? The House might move forward with that as early as next week.
They should be looking into what's going on between Hunter Biden, and they should have an investigation into what's going on between Hunter Biden and his father. And the fact is, I said 3 weeks before the Hunter Biden plea hearing that it would never be approved. My 7 years as a U.S. attorney, I knew that was a one-sided deal, it was a rigged deal, and that if the judge was honest, she would reject it, and she did. And I think now the investigation should be broad into where Hunter Biden got his money, and did he sharing of it with his dad.
Okay. Yeah. New Jersey Governor Chris Christie, we appreciate you being with us on your birthday. Great to have you.
Robin Allison, thank you for having me.
Come back and see us. Our pleasure.
Absolutely.